Season 5, Episode 12 of Breaking Bad. Jesse Pinkman, being played by Aaron Paul, is making this Molotov cocktail. He's got a lighter in his hand. He's ready to burn down the whole house. And Hank pulls out a gun and tells him to put it down. And what does Jesse Pinkman say? Jesse Pinkman delivers the famous line, "He can't keep getting away with this." That is the AFC Championship game. Once again this year, Chiefs, Bills, Mahomes, Allen. And in every which way you apply it, he can't keep getting away with this. Patrick Mahomes, once again onto the Super Bowl, going for his three-peat, the first ever, 4 in 5 years. Already chasing Brady's legacy before the body's even cold with Tom Brady. And if you're a Bills fan, you're screaming that it happened again. If you're an NFL fan, you're screaming at the refs. If you're a Patrick Mahomes hater, you're screaming it from the mountaintops. It just keeps happening again and again and again. Now, oddly enough, I found myself kind of rooting for the Chiefs at one point, which I know is like social suicide to even say that out loud. But the complaining about the Chiefs going into that game was driving me up a fucking wall. And yes, there have been questionable calls that seemingly always go their way. I'm sure if you really broke it down and you went whistle for whistle, first quarter to fourth quarter, every one of these games, it's probably an edge to the Chiefs, but it's not as bad as people think. It's always one or two big spots where the refs hand them a first down, a touchdown, a win, whatever it may be. People were discrediting them all season long. 15-2 team, basically 16-1. They punted on that last game. You know, at some point, you can't just blame the refs or luck when you're 15-2. Everybody's numbers are down. This was a bad season. They were 15-2, and they're right to the AFC Championship game. And I'm thinking, at some point, people got to put some respect on the Chiefs' name and not keep making excuses, not keep blaming refs. And then here we are once again. And the refs are making questionable calls for them. And I get it, man. I get it. I understand. I have no dog in the fight. As a matter of fact, there's part of me as an AFC East Jets fan. I like the Bills. I like Josh Allen. I like Bills Mafia. They deserve it. But I'm also like as a basement dweller who has not gotten out of the bottom of the league the way the Bills have. I'm like, I don't need to see them win. So I'm not like devastated like other people are, and I'm not a Mahomes Chiefs hater like other people are. I think the Taylor Swift hate is weird and stupid. I think trying to discredit them is weird and stupid. I think a lot of times we really mostly root for greatness, and for some reason, whether it's Jackson Mahomes, Brittany Mahomes, a little bit of the refs, people are not rooting for Patrick Mahomes, which I think is a little bit. On the one hand, I understand it because people also don't like to just see one team over and over again. But usually there's people root for greatness. The Steph Curry dynasty, the LeBrons, Brady, the Yankees. Usually greatness is appreciated. In this case, people are trying to discount it at every turn for one reason or another. I don't know. It's interesting how these things break, Sometimes you're beloved, sometimes you're hated. And in this case, I actually genuinely think that some of the Mahomes hate comes from all the off-the-field stuff and all of his family. Anyway, I digress. At the same time, so let's talk about those calls. Spotting the ball is always a mess, but when one ref has it and he was the one facing the right way and the other ref doesn't, and they just kind of run in and meet in midfield, it's always been ridiculous. It's always absurd. You just don't care about it in the first, second, third quarter because it's just like keep the game moving. And then when it really matters, it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? We're just guessing from a guy who's 50 yards away. It's like, it's impossible. So, I'm sure you can look from one angle and you don't know if it's perfectly on the side. Is it behind? Is it right down the line? It looks like he gets there. I think Josh Allen could have done a better job of turning with the ball instead of turning with his other shoulder. So, it can't all be on the refs. But that's a tough call because the first down there obviously changes the complete complexion of the game. That jump ball, I thought was an interception. Then I thought it hit the ground. At most, I thought it was being complete, maybe even lean towards the Bills, and then they call it a completion for the Chiefs. So that one is tough too. But all of that aside, at the end of the game, the Bills have the ball. plenty of time, timeouts, go do your thing, and they can't get it done. Now, I am a firm believer that, quarterbacks get all the glory. They deserve all the blame as well. I did this with Lamar Jackson. Everybody was kind of giving him a free pass. I didn't think he played particularly well in his game in the divisional round, and everybody just said, well, he did everything he could. It's like, well, he had multiple turnovers, and so then you have Josh Allen. A lot of people are saying, well, if you said that about Lamar Jackson, you better say that about Josh Allen. I understand where you're coming from. Particularly, I think Josh Allen has played much better than Lamar Jackson in these games. I don't know the stats. I bet if you look it up, it is like far better. I'm pretty sure Josh Allen is like in all of his playoffs appearances now, he's like 25 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, a passer rating over 100, thousands of yards. I'm pretty sure he is playing as good as he physically can against, by the way, a dynasty. Like we're making it like Josh Allen. You gotta get past the Chiefs, dude. You can't get over this hump. No fucking kidding. It would be like being like Patrick Ewing and Charles Barkley and those guys. They couldn't even get past Jordan. They never got past Jordan. No fucking kidding, man. It's pretty goddamn hard to get past Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and the Chiefs dynasty. It just happens to be the same guy. And it really, what really hurts is that Burrow did it. Burrow in Arrowhead. Getting through, beating them the one time if nobody else had done it, if it, kind of like LeBron, everywhere LeBron goes, he makes the championship and like nobody can stop him, but somebody did stop him, and continues to do so, like has a decent record against them. So that one hurts him, but it's like, it's going to be fucking hard to beat, the greatest team maybe ever. And pretty much pacing to be I can't tell what's more impressive with Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. On the one hand, the fact that Tom Brady has, like, the amount of rings and appearances he has should stand up for 50 years, 100 years. We should be like, we're never going to see this again. And if we do, it'll be my grandkids. Like, it's going to take forever for there to be another guy and another dynasty with this longevity and this success. And his contemporary is doing it. Before, yes, Brady beat him, but on the tail end of Brady's career was another one already starting. And so I don't know what's more impressive, that, or not impressive, but just incredibly unlikely and absurd that they happen to overlap. Or the fact that Mahomes is going for a three-peat 4 and 5 years, and it's still only a good start to beat Mahomes. That is crazy to me. That, like, again, the same way we shouldn't see Brady, another Brady this soon, we should not ever be in a position where 4 and 5 years and a three-peat is like, we'll see. That's you're almost on your way to being as good as Brady. I don't know which is more impressive, which is more absurd. It's all preposterous. I also see people being like, Brady beat Mahomes, and so you can't, he can't be better than him. It's like when one guy like starting his career versus the tail end of a Hall of Fame immortal eternal great. It's like to keep up with other comparisons. Like I remember when Akeem Olajuwon beat Shaq when the Rockets smoked the Magic in the finals. I think they swept them, or maybe 5 games. I'm pretty sure it was sweep. And they talked to Akeem about Shaq, and he was like, I'm just happy that I'm on my way out, and I will be long gone before this guy ever like hits his prime, because he's a motherfucking problem. That's kind of how I view Brady and Mahomes. Like he got the best of him. He beat him. He's he is the undisputed GOAT. But it's not like this a Mahomes and Allen situation where their careers are completely overlapping and they're going up against each other, and one is really going to harm the other's legacy. It's like, I couldn't get over the hump with Brady. I guess that could be somewhat of a knock against him. Barely. Again, same thing with Allen trying to go against Mahomes. If you're going to penalize Mahomes for not being able to beat Tom Brady, who, by the way, were the Chiefs before the Chiefs. You want to talk about some bailout calls, AFC Championship game. What was that dude? It was offsides or some ridiculous flag. There was always something with the Patriots as well. So, same sort of thing where you're talking about trying to get past absolute greatness, and it's not going to be the easiest fucking thing. So now, Sean McDermott, I was very vocal saying that the Steelers should keep Mike Tomlin, and they should count their blessings that they have a guy like that always has them winning record in the playoffs. And I know that they're not really in contention for a Super Bowl, and that's the end game. And so I get why fans want a shakeup, but I think that the Steelers would regret that move. And so a lot of people are saying, keep that same energy with Sean McDermott. The difference is, I think Mike Tomlin gets the most out of his players and gets them to the playoffs when they really shouldn't be. Like, if you look at a team like that has Russell Wilson and a throwaway, former, draft pick bust as your quarterback options, you shouldn't be expected to do anything. And the fact that they actually were as good as they were in the regular season and then, stumbled down the line, couldn't beat any good teams. But I think that he actually gets like the most out of these guys. Whereas Sean McDermott, it's like, you've got everything you need and you just can't seem to get over that hump. It feels to me like Sean McDermott is not going to make or break that team. And as a matter of fact, it feels like at this point, maybe he's breaking them a little bit with some of that play calling and some of that just feeling of like, you're not going to get past Andy Reid. Andy Reid, like, put it this way, I think the gap between Allen and Mahomes is smaller than the gap between Andy Reid and Sean McDermott. And that's a problem because when, arguably the greatest coach of all time, right up there with Belichick. I think the Super Bowl will be his 45th playoff game, which would be the most ever. Coming into that game, he was tied with Belichick, 44 playoff games. So, like, that's a tall task as well to try to get past Andy Reid. And so all of it is this perfect storm for more Bills misery and more continued Chiefs success. I mean, Pat, what is Patrick Mahomes going to, like, he's not even 30. He's 29 years old. I mean, what if he has another decade like he just had? And what's crazy is when you say that, you're like, what's the answer? It's like, then he'll look like Brady. Which is nuts. Because it should be like, if he has another decade like he just had, he'll blow everyone out of the water. And it's like, no, he'll be like similar to another guy who just did it a couple years ago. Crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. The Bills fans are, I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say. Part of me, again, as a lifelong loser, the Bills are lovable losers. The Jets are like, nobody likes them. We're whining. We're New York assholes. We feel like we're owed it. And the Bills Mafia has always just been like, I don't know, win or lose, we booze. We're gonna break tables, wear silly pants, roll around in the snow and have some fun, even though we suck. And then they got good, and they kind of kept that same energy. So it's like this, it's likable all the way around. So I get why people feel for the Bills and want the Bills. I even kind of wanted it myself. Again, I couldn't really bring myself to root for them, but I certainly understand it. The question of like, would you rather just be your old Bills self or be this version of the Bills that's knocking on the door? Coming from the bottom, it's like, I'll take my chances, bro. I'll take my chances. I want to be in the playoffs. I want to be in these exciting moments. I wanna, take a shot, but I get the feeling of like, it's Aaron Paul. You can't keep doing this. Like, they can't keep doing this to me. It is soul crushing because these guys, they're disappointed. Josh Allen was crushed. His post game, he was sighing and dejected. And, it was just like, it's not fun to beat the man. You got to be the man. You got to beat the man. I feel for him, but a lot of these guys, they go home, they make their money, they are on to the next team next year, and they just kind of keep it pushing while fans are sitting there crying into their Zubaz pants for the next, been doing it for 40 years and they'll do it for 40 more. It's a tall task to be a fan of one of those franchises that seemingly, like, maybe the Bills really are cursed and Josh Allen is as good as you can humanly be before black magic just kicks in. Not even Portnoy with his deal with the devil, betting $1 million on the Bills, could get them past the Buffalo stink. Maybe Josh Allen, like, bro, I'll tell you right now, if I was Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, up-and-coming quarterback, like, You know who's in a pretty spot right now? Jaden Daniels. Because go to the NFC, bro. Get out of this conference. Go on the other side of things. Take your chances with him in the Super Bowl. Because you ain't going to get there if you're in the AFC. It just ain't happening. I think we kind of lost sight of that because he wasn't like incredible this year. He had somewhat of a down season. And then he just proved it once again. So now you go back to like, it's not going to happen. You're not getting past him anytime soon. If anything, the window on these other guys are closing. It's just not going to happen. So get to the fucking NFC. Jaden Daniels, by the way, looked ridiculous doing that touchdown dance down like 2 or 3 scores. He's been awesome and he's been incredible and like is, you know, the next one. But that looked ridiculous. Anyway, back to the game. While very interesting to see how much the broadcast can impact a game. Because for whatever reason, CBS did not show the replay on that Dalton Kincaid drop. They showed it quickly, but it was from zoomed out. Players were in the way. You had the red field goal line there. Everything was kind of mishmashed. And you just kind of watch like a Hail Mary type throw bounce around and hit the ground. And then for whatever reason, the broadcast didn't go back to that. They showed Allen get hit. They were basically talking in generalities about like, man, you know, the Bills couldn't get it done and the Chiefs get the ball back and all that. Chiefs kind of celebrating, even though they still needed to get a couple first downs, which they did, but the game was not over at that point. But everyone was kind of like just talking like the game was over. And they didn't show the replay until like several plays later. And it honestly impacted the reaction to the game, the narrative around the game. Because if you show that replay normal, like always, like right afterwards, you get a zoomed in shot of that ball hitting his hands and dropping, that's the entire storyline. That everybody's talking about that instead. And now it kind of like it finally got there. But, you know, the Mark Andrews situation with the Ravens, like Mark Andrews, his life was over. It was like, it's over for this guy. I understand. Listen, a little 2-yard rollout, like right there. It wasn't a perfect throw from Lamar, but like good enough throw, 2 yards away, hits you in the hands. You got to catch that. It's very different than a broken play, unbelievable blitz coming from Spags. You're off your back foot. You make this Hail Mary throw. It would have been a helmet catch type of play. Broken play, ball wobbling, wounded duck, just falls in the right hands. So it's not like, you know, you can't call those things the same, but in the NFL, ball hits your hands, you got to make the catch. And Kincaid, I feel like, was probably looking around like, is nobody's blaming me for this one? And now eventually the internet kind of got there, and now it's trending on social media, and there's a lot of chatter about it. But there was a minute there where he was going to like escape from being, you know, the Bills' GOAT. It's like Scott Norwood is, you know, Dalton Kincaid's name should be right up there with these other guys. A very similar situation to Andrews, by the way. It would have, you know, put you in field goal range, probably would have tied the game. You know, maybe you go to score a touchdown, but most likely you kick a field goal, and then it's like there's still more game to be played. So it was not like that individual play was like win or lose, but could have tied it and could have been, you know, a much different situation. And he was kind of skating by to begin, and it's all because of the broadcast. It's very interesting to see that. Like, depending on how the replays are, what the announcers say and do, is really how much it shapes fans' reactions, because that should have been on Dalton Kincaid from the jump. I mean, that went from like, they didn't get it to, you know, oh, wow, that's a bad drop on what could have been a iconic signature play for Josh Allen. Like truly some Eli Manning, David Tyree helmet catch shit where like, you're not quite as dramatic as Eli escaping and probably should have been blown dead, but, you know, wiggling his way out. But it's pretty fucking impressive throw from a guy who was under a shit ton of pressure. By the way, at what point is Steve Spagnuolo is just unbelievable. A perfect example of like, you know, just stay a DC, man. Just be a defensive coordinator and be awesome at it and have a dynasty and go to the Hall of Fame that way, man. Sometimes, you know, stepping up to be a head coach, you got to deal with the media and you got to deal with management and ownership, and you got to deal with the locker, all this shit. It's like, I just draw up defenses and I blitz like a motherfucker and I am good at it. So Dalton Kincaid, now he's kind of catching the heat. And it's not like I want that to happen, but it is only fair and only right when other guys are getting absolutely, crucified that that you got to put it on him as well. So, interestingly enough, I feel like the Super Bowl matchup is I was surprised to see. I thought it would be more. Let me pick up this. Let me show you this poll that I put up on Twitter, because I would have thought, despite it all, the Mahomes hatred, the Chiefs dynasty, the refs, all of that, I would have thought that people still would root for them over Philly. And right now, it's 60-40. I put up a poll. It's got 17,500 votes. 59% Eagles, 41% Chiefs. I would have thought, I thought it still would have been close, but I thought it would have been the other way, 60-40 Chiefs. I thought that despite all of that hatred for Mahomes, that people would still be like, fuck Philly. The Eagles are not, the Eagles are not the Bills. First of all, they've won recently, so you can't even put them in the same conversation. But I mean in terms of like a lovable, like, oh, I want, Josh Allen deserves it. Like Jalen Hurts, take him or leave him. That team would probably be in the same spot. Their fans are not like, wow, they deserve it. Their fans are fucking assholes. Saquon is a good story, and I would like to watch Giants fans just kind of weep while Saquon like sets every record and holds up a Lombardi. That would be pretty cool. But I would have thought the Philly factor would have been more in this matchup. But it seems like people are really that sick of the Chiefs. And really, I mean, those refs, it's crazy that it just happens every single time. You really, you ask yourself, it's like, if I put you on like a lie detector, gave you truth serum, and I said, like, do you actually think these refs are really making these calls from, a conspiracy point of view? Like, this is actually, they want this to happen. I really don't think that's happening. But it does get to a point where you're like, this is a lot of controversial calls that seemingly always go your way. At what point is it more logical that something's going on versus just insane amount of coincidence and luck? But man, that is a tough pill to swallow if you are a Bills fan or a Patrick Mahomes hater. And while we're talking about coincidences and conspiracies and all sorts of weird shit with the refs, what was up with the phantom flag at the end of the game there? Was there a flag? Why was Jim Nantz said there was a flag. The graphic went up on the screen. There was a flag. And then there just wasn't a flag. And we never heard from that again. We never heard Jim Nantz be like, oh, I thought it was a flag, but like it was just like, no, there is no flag on the play. I don't know. Some of those, one of my biggest pet peeves in the world are those Chiefs wearing yellow cleats and yellow gloves. That should be banned. For the fans in the NFL, you should not be able to wear any yellow on your uniform. Fans everywhere, every time. No flag on the play. No flag on the play. What was that though? Why was there this, this mystery that like on a big play where, the game was in the balance, Allen did get hit, and there was a flag, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, he dropped the ball? Like, never mind, pick that flag up. That flag never happened? I don't know, man. That seems like we thought Dalton Kincaid caught the ball, and maybe there was a flag out there, but all of a sudden we realized he dropped it, and there wasn't? I don't know. How come no one, how did that not get talked about? Or maybe there's a logic, like maybe there really was no flag, but as a fan, we have to know that. You have to give us that answer. You can't have the announcer and the screen tell you there's a flag, and then you just never talk about it again. It could be something as simple as that. Oh, I thought there was a flag. From our angle, it looked like one. That's why we all thought, but there was none. But give me something, because all I saw was broken play. Oh my God, did they catch it? No, they didn't. Oh, there's a flag. Never mind, there's not. That has to be explained. I'm sorry, that has to be explained. They did a terrible job with the replay, not showing Kincaid right away. And they did a terrible job talking about that mystery flag. Somebody give me some answers, because that, as a viewer, was fucking insane. So we'll see what happens, but until further notice, I think Mahomes gets his three-peat. I mean, they were rolling in the first half there. That third quarter belonged to the Bills. They came out of the gates. By the way, I was thinking this, halftime. Shout out to halftime. Halftime, one of the most integral part of sports, really more so football than anything. Can be in basketball too. I've seen it a million times with the Knicks in a bad way. They come out at halftime just flat as fuck in the third quarter after a good first half. But shout out to halftime, man. Changes everything for whatever reason. Maybe people get a little bit of a rest. Your guys who are tired, they get a blow. You reset your mind. You come out like it's a new game. Whatever it is, the Bills were getting cooked. I mean, like, it was light work for the Chiefs. They were just strolling up and down the field. And if it wasn't for that one turnover, and they would have been up like 28-7. Like, it would have been a fucking wrap. But halftime hits and just different game. They come out, make some adjustments, and they're absolutely cruising. And in the fourth quarter, like, flip back. It's like, whatever you guys were doing, they're running the ball more, whatever changes they had made, stick with it, because then it kind of went right back to a couple easy drives for the Chiefs. And I guess at the end of the day, you do have to give Josh Allen some. I hate to do it because it's like, again, I really believe, you look at the numbers, he is all-time great in the playoffs. And at some point, whether it's kicker missing kicks or drop passes, I think it was Stephon Diggs last year and now Kincaid this year, or the defense, or Sean McDermott's play calling, it's like everyone around him has failed. I'm trying to think of, like, who in these games, who in any of these, oh my God, the 13-second, was it like 13 seconds left? And that game was insane. That game was brutal. And same thing with Joe Burrow in that earlier this year, that pass that just was like floating and dropped it. It's like the Chiefs, at some point, it happens so often. The refs thing is one thing. Where it's like there is at least something crazy coincidental and it seems fishy going on with the refs. But all these other things, the drop passes or the plays on defense, like, at some point it happens so often, you have to give the Chiefs credit for that. I know these things feel like luck and coin flips and like it just, the ball breaks their way. But when it happens every time, I think there's a reason why. And it's like these guys are just better prepared. The other teams are nervous. They're like these drop passes. Maybe it's because the Chiefs are just that good. They're putting that much pressure on you. You're nervous. You're afraid. Whatever the reason may be, it keeps happening for a reason. You have to give the Chiefs credit for it eventually. That's my only problem with the Chiefs hate is like I'm a professional hater. I hated the Patriots. I hated the Yankees. I have hate in my heart. But it was always like a fuck these guys because they're so good. I would latch onto a Deflategate or a Spygate, try to discredit them where I could. But it was always like, I know that they're fucking incredible. And I feel like some of the hate in sports these days, whether it's LeBron in the NBA or Mahomes now in the NFL, it's like, you can hate because they're so good. I totally get that. And just be like, fuck these people. They have so much and I have so little. That's the root of hating. But if you're like, you have to give credit at the same time as hating. You can't diminish what these guys are or what they do, because then you're just an asshole. And then you just look like a fucking buffoon, because at the end of the day, Mahomes gets it done. I saw the stat going into the game was 7 times in Mahomes' career, he has been down by a score with under 2 minutes to go. And all 7 times he scored. Fucking crazy. Tom Brady was like 5 for 11. I don't know, somebody else like Joe Montana had done it like 4 times. And it was like, Patrick Mahomes, give him the ball. You're down. You have a minute or 2 left. Scored every time. And, you can say some of those drives are prolonged by the refs or whatever you want. But at the end of the day, that dude just goes out there and fucking does it. Whereas, Lamar Jackson had his shot and didn't get it done. I guess he did get it done, but Andrews dropped the ball. But Josh Allen had his chance, plenty of time left. Go do your thing. And the fact, like, he did it, like you can say that Josh Allen got the job done, like he made that pass, but the fact that it came down to this 3rd and long and, you're in a spot where you're going to get the shit blitzed out of you and you just got to throw up a Hail Mary, it's like, well, you kind of didn't get it done, whereas Mahomes just seems to smoothly dink and dunk down the field, Brady style. At some point, you just have to acknowledge these things happen for a reason. And it's not all luck and it's not all conspiracy. It's because they're fucking great. Andy Reid, great. Patrick Mahomes, great. We're talking immortals here. And so you can hate on him, but you can't hate and discredit at the same time, because that to me is when you look like an absolute asshole.